Afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Bowen. I am head of the science department at the Sam Sharp Teachers College, where we train early childhood, primary, and secondary teachers of science and mathematics. It's a pleasure to be a part of ITEM project teams, and it has been 2 wonderful years working with the USF team as we seek to help our teachers to be more effective at teaching the STEM areas. So it's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon and to share with you what it is we have been doing and plan to do with the teachers we are hoping to empower.
Diane, you're muted.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, colleagues. My name is Diane Clark, and I'd just like to welcome you, just add my voice in welcoming you to the 2021 ITEM Virtual Seminar. So I am a primary school teacher, and I have been for the past 15 years or so. I currently teach at Bow Hill Primary School, which is a little school nestled on the outskirts of Montego Bay in Jamaica. I am really honored to be here today, and I trust and hope that you'll find our session not just informative, but also transformational. All right, again, welcome. All right, so as you know, we are looking at empowering teachers. Our team is looking at empowering teachers by bolstering their competence in effectively planning and delivering STEM instruction. And in our presentation, we are going to be taking you, just highlighting a little bit of our journey as a team, both the USF and Sam Sharp Teachers College. We're going to be looking at some of the products we have actually made in order to facilitate the teaching, the workshops that we're going to be doing. So we're going to be looking at some of those products, as well as some of the different types of inquiry styles that we're going to be exposing our teachers to. And we are going to be exploring how we plan to conduct our workshops, the objective of our workshops, and we really hope that you will find all of this informational as you leave this session. Okay, David.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So to give you a little bit of the history as to the USF background, so I attended with a colleague of mine. We went to the American Association of Physics Teachers winter workshop in 2020, and Rebecca gave a talk talking about the OAS I-10 project, and we had some faculty or some teachers as part of another project, which was called the WIPRO Science Education Fellowship. And this is a group of teachers across the Tampa Bay region in various counties who get together to become master teacher leaders and to enhance their content, enhance their abilities within the classroom. And so when we talked about this opportunity to be able to do an international collaboration, we had a couple teachers really get excited about it. So I worked with Jessica Strauss. And so what we're really looking at is what are the major issues in STEM? And the ideas in that, how do we get STEM to be inclusive for all? And how do we even get them first interested in STEM? And so where can we go with getting them beyond, once we have that interest, into STEM careers, STEM fields, and what can we do with it? And how similarities maybe with this partnership, with this project, what are there in different countries, and what can we do and what can we learn from, and also then enhance what we're doing here within the United States. So that's kind of how Jessica and myself got started with this project on the USF, on the US side. And Diane, you're muted, so unmute yourself.
Thank you, David. For us here at Sam Sharp, we were a part of a microscience set of microscience workshops where we were helping teachers to understand how they could teach science more effectively. And the Ministry of Education representative encouraged us to become a part of project teams, and that initiated our involvement. We were happy to be involved because it was in keeping with our desire to help our primary school teachers in particular develop their competence and their confidence teaching science. In Jamaica, our recently revised curriculum places emphasis on STEM education and the use of the 5E models when planning lessons. But many of our primary school teachers are fearful of math and science. And if we want our children to become passionate about math and science and the STEM areas in general, then our teachers too need to have that passion and enthusiasm when they go to their students. So a part of our vision is to help our teachers develop their confidence and their competence so that they can confidently and enthusiastically engage young children in learning science so that they will want to pursue STEM beyond the primary level.
So when we came together, we saw that there were several things that we had in common. Though on the surface there might be, oh, we're talking about this, or talking about this, but there are those areas of overlap. And when we discussed it, we really saw, how do you get interested in STEM? How do we make sure that STEM is available to all? How do we run these professional development sessions, and how do we get teachers excited about it? But it's knowing what are these effective practices, knowing what is out there and what is available, but what's good for our teachers. And so if we can focus on these things while taking into account the enthusiasm, the professional development, the interest in STEM, the social justice, and bring these aspects together through effective practices with resources available to teachers, that was our cement for our two different projects. And so that's what we were able to use moving forward as we were developing our project. So this is our second year as our collaboration. And so we were able to expand on some of the stuff we did within our first year.
So as is indicated there, as David says, we are focusing on effective practices and developing resources that teachers can use to enhance their teaching. Something else we'll share later on too, that we are hoping to become a part of this year's initiative, that not only will they be supported by the members of project teams, but that they would be able to make connections with other teachers with similar experiences who can also share best practices as a way of empowerment and additional professional development experiences.
So one of the products that we have created as a team that we are excited to share with you today is our actual website that has a lot of useful information on it. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing and take you there right now. So one of the things you can notice here is we have descriptions about what inquiry is. You can learn a little bit about us, our universities, and us as individuals. We have video lessons. We have a plethora of resources. And if you click on our resources, it is broken down into topics as well as grade levels and links that are helpful for you. My internet seems to be slow, so I hope everybody can hear me all right. Okay. So as you can see, they're broken down by title, grade level, content area. There's a little brief description about it, as well as a link that you can use to find resources. We tried to find as many as we could that are free to you. And the idea is that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. There's these resources out there that can help enhance the science classroom and make it more hands-on and real world for these students and for teachers to bring to their classrooms. If you check out our pedagogical strategies, you can check out some of the different techniques when it comes to running an inquiry classroom, whether it's the 5E model, inquiry, the engineer design process, which we'll go into a little bit more in a few slides. We have some standards and templates you can learn from us. And of course, we always love to look for grants, as we are a part of this grant, for example. And we have some grants here with links and information to get you helpful resources, contacts, equipment that possibly could be in your room. A lot of these are based in the US, but some of them do have reach in other countries or areas of even just North America. So if you have other ideas and resources that you can send us, we would love to hear and add them on here so we can make this a website that is even more worldly.
Okay, what do you mean?
But we realize we can do more, and Diane's going to tell you about that.
Well, as indicated in what Jess was sharing, we have identified different types of inquiry, different ways that we can engage our students in inquiry. One of the things that was common to both groups was that we found that in our areas, the 5E model was emphasized, and our teachers are encouraged to write their lesson plans using the 5E model. Throughout my experience working with teachers doing professional development workshops, and I guess Dan can back me up where this is concerned, many of our teachers are struggling to effectively use the 5E model as they plan their lessons. And a part of the struggle comes from not really understanding what the 5Es mean, what they're about, but also to, as is illustrated in that slide, traditionally persons see 5E as being linear, but in practice it's not. And so we want to help them to better understand the 5Es, to better understand how they can reflect it in their lessons, but also to understand that it's not always a linear process. Sometimes we are starting, we are going back, we are revisiting what we've done. Evaluation is something that you do throughout, it's not at the end. So a part of our workshop experience will be to help our teachers to really understand the 5Es so that they can better implement it in their classrooms, and they can be true to inquiry. They can be true to what science is as they seek to help their students to not only understand the science content, but to develop an understanding and an appreciation for the nature of science. So this is one of the areas that we'll be focusing on in the workshops that we will be engaging our teachers in.
And as Diane said, that was something that was common across both of our groups. The county that our university is located in, science teachers are required to use the 5E cycle, or elementary school science teachers are required to use a 5E cycle. Now, when I taught, I learned the scientific method, and that's how I learned what inquiry was: a set step, very linear, start from the top, work your way towards the bottom. And when I taught high school physics, I thought the goal was to teach content. I was a physics person, so I wanted my students to know Newton's laws. I wanted them to know what the equations were and how to solve problems. But I realized, I came to an epiphany that what's important to me is getting my students to think like a scientist, to develop those skills.
Mhm.
They can look up equations, they can look up formulas, they can look up on their phone what a definition is. And so one of the processes that I learned was the investigative science learning environment. We start with observations. We look at the world around us, and we start to see patterns developing based upon these observations. So we use those patterns to develop a model. What are some possible explanations for what's going on? And once I have my model, well, we need to test it out. If I have a new experiment, and according to my model, what should I see happening? According to my model, if my model's right, what should the outcome be? And does a testing agreement support it or not support it? Because remember, we never try to prove anything, Craig, but does the data support what our models are? If it doesn't, that's okay. Let's do more observation experiments. If it does support it, well, let's still test it out some more. And what are the applications from it? Where are we doing what we're doing? And so this is a different style of inquiry that not as many science teachers are aware of, but it's something that I teach a lot in our classroom.
So one of the things about inquiry is it's not always, as David was kind of saying, this perfect linear process. So one of the other types of inquiry is engineering by design. And this is a process that engineers use in order to find solutions to problems in the real world. And so students, something you can do in classrooms with them is have students come up with issues, problems that they see in their world and start doing some research. They can brainstorm and they actually start building solutions to problems that they see. And it can be simple things in their real world. This doesn't always have to be, again, tapping back into what David said about stuff that's always in a book. It could be something that they see a problem at their school or a problem in their community, and they can look to research and come up with ideas of how to fix this problem. When they do, they'll build and they'll test. If it doesn't work, they will go back and improve. And one of the big things that we want to make sure that we're stressing to educators as we work with them is giving the time to allow students to improve their work. Not to just stop because it didn't work. We want them improving, identifying what was wrong with their build and working to fix that and keep testing until they come up with that solution. And then in true scientific process, they are going to share that solution with other scientists or their classmates in their classroom.
So as we were going through these, enhancing what we were doing with our resources, as we started to unpack inquiry, we realized there's a lot of differences with inquiry in the countries. And so one thing we would like to do now is also, as you're listening, we have a couple questions. And if you can just put in some answers to one of the questions in the chat box, we would like to know what's happening in your countries with this. Because one of the things that we found, how is inquiry conducted in different countries in different settings? That even within the US, there's vast differences with how inquiry is conducted and what inquiry even means. For some teachers, we get, oh, as long as I'm doing something hands-on, that's inquiry based. Well, that's inquiry. I'm doing inquiry. We have some teachers who they might get inquiry in their professional development through the university or through their degree programs, but they don't get anything more afterwards. And so that really started leading us to getting a better understanding of the vast differences of what is inquiry in the different countries, how is it viewed, and then what are the challenges between the different countries. So let Diane kind of give their thoughts from what they saw in Jamaica.
Well, in our context, and Dan will add as we proceed because this is her lived experience.
Yes.
Our context, for the purposes of this project, our focus is on our primary school teachers. And in our context, more often than not, our students are not engaged in inquiry. Even though our teachers write a plan that says 5 E's, the activities and the actions that the students are carrying out are not in keeping with the processes that the model intends and are not reflective of the nature of science. So though we say we have a STEM curriculum, and though inquiry is what is encouraged, in actual practice, irrespective of the format that is used, in actual practice, our students are not engaged in inquiry. One of the major challenges that the teachers have are the resources available to them. But even whether or not the resources are there, because there are many things you can do with materials in your environment to teach the concepts that are in the curricula, they're not sure how, because they themselves are not confident about teaching the science or the mathematics. They themselves are not confident about how to. They themselves do not have a inquiry. Hence, we want to embark on these professional development tasks that we are pursuing as a team.
And that is so true, Diane, especially in our context here in Jamaica. We hear people refer to as book science, where science is not really taught as you don't see the science skill, the process skills coming out. The science is being taught from a textbook. So whatever is in the textbook, that is what is being taught as science. And everything that you teach, the passion for it needs to, if students see that your passion for it, it tends to translate. It doesn't always, but it tends to translate when they see you have a passion for it, when you have a drive for it. And so we want to get our teachers to be more competent. The more comfortable you are at delivering something, the better you'll do at it. Your students will gravitate more towards it. And in the context that we're living in now, we really see how important it is for students to get science, to really love it and understand and see its importance. That too is important, seeing its importance in their day-to-day lives. Okay.
So this really led to, whether we want to call this an aha moment, a simple, well, moment when we came together. You think about professional development that we've always had. It's one size fits all, it's one shoe for everyone, and we're all going to do the same professional development. So what we realized, we need to modify what we're doing, because there is no one size fits all category. So different teachers have different needs. So we can go to the next slide. So that was our rationale for when we're looking at our second year of the project. As we're making these professional development videos and these resources and enhancing what we're doing, it cannot be suited for just one person. I know a lot of times when I look for something, it's like, oh, this is really neat, but it would be great if they did this. Oh, I don't want them doing this. I wish they would do this. So what we're doing with our videos, we're creating a series, and they're going to be set out on weekly resources for videos specifically geared on the same discipline, the same topic or event or whatever we want to call it, but look at it from multiple perspectives. So we have videos for the teachers, videos for the students, and videos for both. So for our teacher videos, we have a sample lesson. So the one that's currently out there is our pilot one. We're looking at Bernoulli's principle. I blow between a piece of paper, the papers go together. I blow and the paper starts flittering up. So we have a sample lesson as to teachers who might need to see it in action. They can watch this video and see it in action. Or other teachers, it's like, okay, I know what I can do, but I need to hear the background with it. So there's a video talking about the background of what they can do. For students, maybe the teacher doesn't want it for themselves. Maybe they want it for their students. So we can have just the experiment, no discussion, no nothing. Let teachers figure out how they want to use it and what they want to do with it. Or maybe there's questions that we can ask with them. And then finally, if we're talking about this situation, then there's the explanation as to what is going on. Because as Diane and Diane were saying, we get that here in the US as well too. Students, especially in elementary settings, are scared of science and they tend to shy away from it. So they're not going to do it. So this is a way that they can help their students understand the resources, or it's something that they can then go ahead with their own content knowledge to enhance. So we probably, because we're almost starting to run out of time, we don't have time to show you the videos. And Jess, if you can advance a couple slides. So you can see these are examples of some of the videos. So the videos are there for you to do it. So I'm going to turn it over to Diane. Dan, talk about now our next steps with our workshop project.
One of our major set of activities will be the upcoming workshops that we're planning for our teachers. And as illustrated there, not only is it meant to facilitate learning and to improve our practice as teachers, but we also have included a mentor component where we will serve as mentors for the teachers or as consultants for them to offer them support as they engage in science instruction in their classrooms. But it also will provide them an opportunity to reflect on what they do and to share with not just us, but with other teachers so that they can learn from the best practices of other teachers. So one of the features of our workshops going forward will be a buddy system where we will partner a teacher in Jamaica with a teacher in the US. They're free to share with other teachers who are a part of our workshop, but they can bounce ideas off each other. They can share with each other. They can support each other. So outside of the support that we will give, they would also have support from the other teachers who are a part of the professional development experiences that we are now planning. So Dan will share with you what the format for our first workshop or objectives and the format for our first workshop.
Okay. All right. So our goal as we conduct our workshop is one, to model effective strategies so that as to support educators so they can create their own STEM and inquiry units. All right. So we want them to be effective at doing this. And so by doing this workshop, that is our hope. Our hope is also to offer guidance during design and implementation and to provide opportunities for follow-up reflection and also implementation. All right, so our workshop, we will be having 2 workshops. You can move it along, David. We'll be having 2 workshops. They will be with the context that we're living in now. The workshops will be online. David, can you move slide?
Jessica?
Thank you. All right, so the workshops will be online. One before. All right, so the workshops will be online. It is our hope to provide the teachers with the resources that they need. Okay, there we are. So the tentative date, October, the workshops will be for 3 hours. We'll be looking at the 5E, all the different inquiry styles that we discussed earlier. We'll be looking at those teaching or equipping teachers with the skills that they'll need in order to carry out these different inquiry style lessons. All right, and in so doing, like Diane mentioned before, we wouldn't be leaving them on their own. We'll be there holding their hand along the way and also providing them with mentors in order to get them to effectively create these plans and implement these plans. Okay, all right, so that's for one of our workshops. Like I said, the workshops will be done online. With our team, both the USF and Sam Sharp. We will be providing them with the resources. USF will be giving out kits. Sam Sharp would also be doing something similar in order to make sure that the teachers have the resources that they will need in order to, not just for the workshop, but after the workshop is finished, they'll have things that they can use in their classroom to help them to deliver their lessons. All right, so after the workshop, we have teachers can apply the inquiry to their practice, work with their buddies, and connect with team members, mentors for guidance if need. We will be making ourselves accessible to the teachers where they can contact us, and we offer assistance in that regard. And as well, they'll have their buddy, which will be there too. So that is our hope for the workshop 1. When we come back from workshop 1, after they've gone out and implemented the strategies and have been given guidance along the way, then we're going to come back and share their experience, see how they've adapted or how they've used the strategy or used the skill that they've learned, see if they've had their whatever hiccups they're still having with what they're doing, see how best we can now modify and help them if after all our attempts or prior attempts had not yielded the fruit we had hoped that it would. So they'll be sharing their experiences, implementing inquiry practices in their classroom, offering guidance and support. That's for us, and also and maintaining connection. Because I think as it pertains to science, no matter how good you are, and it's basically everything in life, no matter how good you think you are, there comes a time when we need assistance, when we need help. And having a community that you can reach out to for assistance, for help is going to be very important, especially in our context where we're trying to develop these skills within people who don't necessarily have the skills, having that foundation, having that community to reach out to, people to connect with, is going to be very important in getting them to be the type of STEM teachers that we're hoping to create, the type of STEM teachers that are going to get our students to be enthused about the idea of STEM, to get their students to try and go out for themselves and be curious, the type of teachers that are going to be, invoking all that in our students.
So we are at our time limit. seeing a couple questions in the chat box asking if we're able to join the workshop. I put my email address in there, and so what we can do is if you would like to email me with interest, our two teams are still kind of working out some of the final details and some of the finer points of that. So what I can do, or as Jessica's putting in the chat box, the website, we have our contact information there as well too. But if this is something that you would like a little bit more on and like to learn a little bit more of, please do send me an email and we'll definitely add you to the list. Allison, I don't know if we're completely over our time or if there are time for any other questions.
We are just over our time. If there was one last question that you saw in the chat, I know there were several. If there's anything you'd like to address briefly, you've got about a minute, max two, to do so.
I think the only other question I see is about mostly with primary teachers, and that's going to be, I believe our focus is elementary teachers. But if we have someone who's really interested in secondary, a lot of the strategies can be used for others. So again, email us. Let us know if you're interested, primary, secondary. There'd be something that you would be able to learn from it as well.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you, Diane, David, Jessica. Wonderful presentation. I'm going to share my screen with all of you that are here and just thanking you for your attendance. Please do know that we have a really full schedule for the seminar, so please have a look here at the agendas. Go to those. They have all the information you could ever need about the platform, how to use the platform, meaning GatherTown, as well as the times for each event, as well as links for you to check the times in your time zone. So please do check that. And if you did want to reach out to the team, please check the chat. I know David left his contact info, as well as you can contact the team and find their information via their website, which Jessica also posted several times throughout in the chat. Okay, thank you all so much. We've got a few minutes while we transition for our next presentation, which will begin promptly at 45 past the hour. We will see you in a moment.
Dijo que iban a salir hoy, ¿te acordás?
¿Dónde se registra la asistencia, chicos? ¿Saben?
Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our next session. This session is going to be delivered by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information of Jamaica, the Foundation of Knowledge and Digital Culture of Mexico, and the Swaliga Foundation of the United States, Washington, D.C. The title is Bridging the Gap in STEAM Education. So welcome, everyone. Please make sure you choose your interpretation and language at the bottom of your screen. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat, and we will go ahead and turn over the microphone to our team.
Thank you, Alison. Good afternoon, everyone. Hola, buenas tardes. I wish I could greet everybody in their own language. Unfortunately, I only speak English and some patois, which is Jamaican Creole. My name is Carrie-Ann Reed Bucknor, and our presentation is pre-recorded, and we also have in that presentation an introduction to the team. So I will not take up any more of your time. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, this evening, and we do hope that you get some relevant information from our presentation. Over to you, Bagia.
Thank you, Carrie-Ann.
The epitome of excellence is predicated on collaboration, innovation, and creation. This afternoon, I am most honored to present the collective effort of Jamaica, Swaliga, and Mexico in conceptualizing and implementing this STEM-based project under the theme, Bridging the Gap. The facets of the projects were anchored by a postmodern outlook to STEM education, bridging the gap in gender disparity, transitioning from primary to secondary schools, along with the integration of the creative arts in the delivery of the theoretical content. In short, the project seeks to cater to the learning deficiencies in STEM teaching and learning, both at the primary and the secondary levels. The team comprises Dr. Joseph Thomas, Bagia Maladi, Janelle Malcolm, Carrie-Ann Reed Buckner, Marsha Allen Russell, Eric Uesco, Roxana Chichino, Lemon Brown, and yours truly, Amorcard Brown. Please enjoy the lineup of our presentation.
Knowing your students will actually help you to identify multiple access points to the curriculum to increase engagement and success. Hello, educators. I'm sure that you and I both will agree that knowing your students as learners is very, very important. And I'm sure you know that we cannot ignore a student's unique learning style. Isn't this true? Especially if your students are struggling with schoolwork? Each class brings a new group of students, and learning about your students is a prerequisite for you to create a learning profile. Students become responsible learners if we as good teachers accept our responsibility for their learning. Differentiated instruction addresses students' interests, deficiencies, and misconceptions, and it is very important for us to help our students to meet their own responsibilities to learn. Students influence how we teach. How we respond to our students in turn influences how they learn. Good teaching requires that we bridge the gaps that may impede effective communication and thereby hinder student learning. You can foster inclusion in the classroom early in the term through how you engage your students, starting with your use of the space. Try varying activities, whether it's a group, paired, or individual work, because however you arrange your students in different formations, you are still increasing their engagement with each other. Noise can result from poor classroom management techniques, and so teachers, we need to learn how to review some of our strategies. Students perform better when their teaching is matched to their preferred learning style. A learner profile will help you to build unique experiences for all your students. So, colleagues, a learner profile builds relationships to foster community building for our students to have an equal access in the learning process and to become critical thinkers. A learner profile eliminates dead time, okay? And it also helps you to tap into the various learning styles and multiple intelligences to engage all the learners. Thank you, educators. Thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is a questionnaire for primary school learner profile. It has been adapted from the book, The Intelligence Frame, Multiple Intelligence for the 21st Century, written by Howard Gardner. We want to give credit to the education officers in Jamaica who provide us with this significant information to make this Google form questionnaire. First, in section 1, we collect the student's email. Afterwards, in section 2, their name, gender, and grade. And in section 3, we have 8 questions. Each one corresponds to a type of intelligence or learning style to find out the learner's profile of our student, which lead us to an effective planning. For each question, they must choose the activities that they feel willing or favorably disposed to. They can pick as many as they like. At the end, the style with more picks is the learner style profile. And of course, we can have mixed learner styles profiles. Here, we have a list of these intelligence, but let's go through them by reviewing the questions. Question number 1. What do you like to do? Write a letter, write a report, tell a story, write an essay, write in your homework journal. I learn better when someone reads to me than reading on my own. This is the linguistic intelligence, where people feel comfortable with words. It's the verbal learning style. Now, question 2 is about the logical mathematical intelligence. In this mathematical profile, students are more inclined to numbers and reasoning. The question is, what would you do to try and answer a question? Draw a graph, design a puzzle, use numbers in math class, count objects, solve puzzles. I underline the main points. Question number 3. What would you use to make something attractive? Draw a picture, paint something, make a poster, take photographs, make a map. I remember something better if I write it down. This is the visual profile. It's the spatial intelligence that works with pictures and charts. Question 4. If given a choice, what activities would you prefer to do? Act in a play, do an experiment, play a sport, dance, make a model, for example, a car. I learn better through trial and error than following given steps. This is the kinesthetic profile, where people is willing to use their body. This is the bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Question 5. If you love music, what would you prefer to do? Listen to music, write a song, sing, play an instrument, hum. I prefer to turn in a videotape or give an oral report instead of writing something. This one obviously refers to the musical intelligence. It's the musical profile. Number 6. How do you like to interact? Talk to people, organize an event, work in a group or team, help people to work together, do voluntary work. Studying at a desk is not for me. I prefer to move around. This is the interpersonal intelligence, meaning that people have an affinity to interact with other people. Number 7. If you were asked to record what you do in a daily life, how would you do it? Think about your life, keep a diary, think about what happened that day, set goals for yourself, think about your opinions. I talk to myself to solve a problem. This is the intrapersonal intelligence. People are more inclined to be on their own for learning. And the last question, number 8. What would you do to get comfortable in a new environment? Make a prediction, solve a problem, collect objects, for example, stamps, organize things in a certain way, figure out how something works. I do not become easily lost in strange surroundings. This is the naturalistic profile. This kind of people adapt to change easily.
All right, so here we're looking at a Google form designed to capture the learning styles of our learners at the secondary level. Okay, now the first question has a series of options that they can pick based on, what their preferences are, etc. And this particular question is designed to capture whether or not the person is a verbal or linguistic learner. The second one that states, oh, you enjoy doodling, etc. We're looking at whether or not the person is a visual learner. If they're taking the test, they can actually see the textbook while they're taking the test and the textbook is not there, where they can see where the answer is. And then the next question, where you have to categorize, you need some sort of order, some sort of pattern in order for you to really assess something. These people also like to play strategic games like chess, etc. These are your logical learners. And then this person doesn't really spend much time in terms of writing out the information, but they are very keen on listening to whatever is said. Okay? So writing, it tends to be messy, but the listening, they remember every bit of what was said. And those are your auditory learners. And then, of course, these guys like to do stuff instead of having it done for them or having them being told about it or seeing it done. They need to do it for themselves. So we have our kinesthetic learner. And then lastly, we have another subcategory of auditory learners, which are your musical learners, where everything has to have a rhyme or a rhythm. Okay, they listen to certain things like the chirping of birds early in the morning, the humming, that sort of thing helps them to remember and retain information. And so here we see that those are the types of learners captured by this particular Google form. Now let's go off into the responses. So this was actually pilot tested on a group of students at the Immaculate Conception High School that were attending summer school. These are grade 7 students. And the teacher was Mrs. Bagdia Miladi. And if we look at the responses, we can see where everybody kind of shares some of the different preferences in the different categories. So some people, a lot of people are fascinated with words, etc. Some enjoy doodling, some like categorizing things, etc. So when you look generally, everybody has a little bit of each learning style, of each preference. So how do we assess then the learning style of a particular individual? So we have to go here to the individual responses. And here we can see we're going to be looking for which question this person actually ticked or selected most of the options that are there. So for this young lady, she selected 4, 5, 6, 7 out of a possible 11 options. Okay. The next one, she also chose, approximately 50% of the options that were there. Then we look here. Wow, she chose everything except one. Then we look here. We say, okay, boy, less than 50%, not really her thing, her cup of tea. A little bit more than 50. All right, a little bit more than 50. So what you have to look at is the percentage of responses that the person has selected. And then whichever question has the highest percentage of responses, then that is their dominant learning style. So this child's dominant learning style is logical. So she is a logical learner. So you're going to give her patterns. You're going to categorize and classify the information for her. All right. And you have to show the connections between this, that. You can't give her a lot of disjointed points in the classroom. And so knowing the individual's learning styles will help you to create that differentiated lesson where you can differentiate the content and eventually capture everybody or play to everybody's strengths.
Hello, everyone. Another aspect of the Jamaica-Soliga-Mexico logic model included this objective: to train teachers to use the digital arts to develop lessons which promote skills the students need to transition into STEAM careers. Our STEAM lesson plan was written on a template developed by Dr. Padu from the George Mason University in the United States of America. This lesson plan was implemented by myself and other members of a team. It was later modified by the Jamaica-Soliga-Mexico team. Though this lesson plan was written for grade 4 students, the lesson plan framework may be used across all levels of the education system, thus another way of bridging the gap. Here are the main parts of the lesson plan framework. The topic for the lesson plan was physical features of our region, and the framework includes the name and contact information of the teachers. The subject area and learner profile is also a part of the lesson plan framework. Grade level, duration, and a short description of what the lesson will be about is there. The objectives of the lesson would also be presented. We have the cognitive level, the psychomotor, and the affective objectives. Now for the STREAM foundation, how the different levels or aspects of STREAM would come out. For science, students would classify landforms as highlands or lowlands on Nearpod. For technology, they would use ICT tools to research definitions for concepts given. For reading, the students will read up on various activities that take place on physical features. For engineering, the students created 3D models of various physical features. For arts, they drew pictures of various physical features to illustrate their definitions. They also mixed colors into different shades in order to paint their models. For mathematics, they measured the correct amount of glue that would be used to make their papier-mâché. They also learned about map scales, and they create tables to show highest peak population of various sections. Now, these are some other aspects of the lesson plan framework that I won't go into, but just to expose you to what they would look like. This lesson plan also used the 5E model: engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluation. These are also other aspects of the framework of the template. Thank you, everyone, and continue to tune in to the other presentations from my team. Thank you.
Olay. Hey, I'm a G, huh? We gonna move through these landforms. Walk with me, look. Volcano ain't hot enough. Still ain't seen that river wide enough. Either way it goes, you can see the water flow. Only thing you gotta know is ain't no stopping us. Volcano ain't hot enough. Still ain't seen that river wide enough. Either way it goes, you can see the water flow. Only thing you gotta know is ain't no stopping us. Yeah, I said we got the power in us. Wind at my back, I'm downhill sprinting. And I ain't stopping for a mountain or a river. Weathering these rocks over time, I deliver. Way we move the mind, make the opposition quiver. So sublime, big moves, earthquakes, that's groundbreaking. Said we make big moves, that's denudation. Tell them great things take time and patience. And we don't even do it for congratulations. Either way, I heat it up till evaporation. Just so you can use your imagination. Volcano ain't hot enough. Still ain't seen that river wide enough. Either way it goes, you can see the water flow. Only thing you gotta know is ain't no stopping us. Volcano ain't hot enough. Still ain't seen that river wide enough. Either way it goes, you can see the water flow. Only thing you gotta know is ain't no stopping us.
My name is Joseph Thomas, the Director of the Master Teacher Unit in the Ministry of Education in Jamaica. In conclusion, this team has worked towards creating the learner profile to meet the needs of the different learning styles. Understanding the learner is one of the 6 guiding principles stipulated in the teacher standards in Jamaica. Knowing your student is very critical for a teacher in creating a meaningful learning experience for the students in various teach modalities. This learner profile has helped us to design STEM lesson plans to bridge the gap between the primary and the secondary schools and to empower the teachers to enhance their pedagogical practices. Through this collaboration, the Jamaican team members had the privilege to learn from the educators from US and Mexico. I want to express our sincere thanks to OAS ITAN for this opportunity and specifically to Ms. Rebecca Vieira and Ms. Alison Owen for their continuous guidance and support that we enjoyed from the beginning of the project. Thanks to all.
Okay, so that was from our team. Back to you, Alison, for the Q&A.
Yes, very well. Well, we've got about 6 minutes. So if anybody saw any questions in the chat, or if anyone else from the team would like to comment or ask any questions, please, by all means.
Okay, Bagia, one of the questions being asked frequently was if persons could get a copy of or to get a link to their learner profiles as well as the lesson plan. And yes, we can provide those documents to you. I shared my email in the chat. Bagia and other team members, you could probably share your contact information as well.
Okay, I'll share my email. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the same question. How do we get access to the secondary learner assessment? So Mrs. Bagya Maladi will be sharing her email, who is the teacher. She and Janelle are at the high school level, so they can share that information with you. I am at the primary level, so I can share the primary learner profile with you. I'm going to share my email in the chat once again.
And
Team
if
members,
anyone wants a clip of that wonderful music, you can see Mr. Brown, Lemon Brown on the screen. Mr. Lemon Brown, can you let them know how they can get that?
Yes, thank you, Miss Maladi. So that song is actually not available yet, the landform song we work on specifically for this project. But I'll be sending it out, and I'm going to post a link in the chat for where to get more STEAM music for whoever's interested.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon Brown.
There was also a question here about preschoolers. Did you see that one? Any project you have developed with preschoolers?
Yes, Kerry, you can answer about that, the project that we did with the primary schools.
You go ahead, Bagya. You take that one.
Okay. Yes, we did. How do we bring STEAM into the 21st century classroom? So we did I was awarded a teacher leadership fund by OAS, and it was really an honor. And so I worked with the primary and the secondary teachers, and we did a very nice project to bring STEAM into the 21st century classroom. And Miss Kerry-Ann Reed Buckner, she was the primary school teacher who actually implemented the lesson plan. The lesson plan that you saw today on the landforms, yes, that was implemented too in a different way, and it was very well done.
Yes, and in addition to that, among our team members was a teacher from the early childhood level. She taught at grade 1, and she modified the lessons so that she could implement it to her grade 1 students. So to answer your question directly, we have not gone out to speak or to work directly with the preschoolers, but some of the things that we have done definitely can be modified so that they can be taught to early childhood students.
Wonderful. Any final questions that you all see, or team, would you like to make any final comments as well? Just to be sure that you all are also seeing the chat just quickly, Lamont did put a link in for where you can check out more music. So please copy and paste and save that link. Go ahead, team.
Ms. Malcolm, Ms. Samarkand Brown.
Yes, Mrs. Maladi.
Yes.
I just want to thank ITEN, and I want to thank in particular Alison and Rebecca for their their continued support. You've been awesome. I want to thank the opportunity to meet everyone on my project team. Mr. Brown, we are definitely gonna have to keep the link because yeah, my drama girls are going to love what's going on with you. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with everyone, and you know, this whole community has been so good to me, and I have learned so much. Thank you to Dr. Thomas. Thank you to Mrs. Maladi. Those two are my mentors slash, you know, the ones that urge me on, etc. And thank all of you for actually coming here, because guess what? If you did not come to actually watch our session, then we would not have anything to present to, or anyone to present, sorry. And you would have been missing out on all of this goodness, okay? So I know that you are excited and happy
that you came and you got links to lesson plans, to music, to everything. So guys, listen out for I-10, and anytime you see them put out something about some seminar, some workshop, trust me, grab it. You never know what you're gonna get. It's a basket of goodies. It's awesome. All right, and that's it from me.
Okay, and I think Roxana is there. Roxana, are you there, Roxy?
Yeah, but we have to go fast. Our time is up.
Yes, I am here. Sorry, I am
No, I'm
here.
just
I was
trying to. Yes.
Hello,
Rox.
I was trying to answer some question I saw there in the chat. They were asking if we have some challenges. We did have some challenges because there right now there's vacations and we have to implement the questionnaires. But fortunately, Mr. Malati was able to do that at her school. We also have some challenges because we're from very different cultures. And sometimes it was very difficult to understand ourselves. But at the end, I think we all have a lot of disposition to work together and to make things work out. And at the end, we are very happy, and I am very thankful with everyone. I really enjoy working with you and being part of the project.
Thank you. And Alison, I would love to thank you. I'm sure the team, yes, Alison has been so patient with us. Okay, and she has been the anchor person to hold on to when we were getting frustrated at times. She was trying to bring us back on the track. So Alison, I love you. You know that, right? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank
Wow. Alison, you know you're special. She just said I love you live on YouTube.
And it's recorded. It's recorded.
I love you too, Bhagya. Wonderful.
Lastly, I just want
it is. Yes, Lamont, please.
On behalf of the Swaliga Foundation here in the U.S., I want to say thank you to my amazing team from Jamaica and Mexico. And thank you to I-10 OAS and to you, Alison. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're going to keep it going.
Very good.
Wonderful.
Amarcard just came in. Amarcard, quickly.
Are you hearing me?
Please.
Yes, we are.
Good, good. I've been trying.
30 seconds.
Yes, thank you so much, Alison and Rebecca. I'm not seeing Rebecca, but I know she's here. And special thanks to the US and Mexico, our colleagues right there. It's indeed a pleasure working with you, collaborating on this international project. And certainly it's basically a cultural exchange. So we are not able to visit physically, but certainly we'd have learned a lot from each other. And I just want to say we need to maintain this contact so that we can carry on in our different contexts. All the best.
Thank you.
Yes, wonderful. Well, that's all the time that we have. Thank you, team, so very much. As those of you who are participating here as just listening and observing, you can tell that we've created some tight-knit networks and friendships, and that's probably the most important and fun part of our job anyway. So, and hopefully all of you can take that as a note of confidence that when you come into I-10, you're joining a family. So thank you all for being here, team. Thank you so much for your presentation, beautiful presentation. Participants, please check the chat for any information that the team has put in there, links, emails, etc. And you can also go back and check for the links that I've placed in there for the agendas in all 3 languages, Spanish, Portuguese, and English. Please do read those. Unfortunately, we need to really beg you all to be as resourceful as possible because we don't have the bandwidth on our team to answer questions directly to individuals about how to register for things. So please be patient if we don't respond to you quickly, and check those agendas. There are video tutorials and a lot of information there for you all to learn how to register, to learn where to go, and to find even your time zone for each presentation or other activity you join. So thank you all so much, team. We're gonna take a quick break here. Just for a few moments before our next presentation begins promptly at 5:30 p.m. Washington, D.C. time. So please, again, check the agendas for your time zone if you need to. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat now, and I will do my best to answer. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, team. And we'll see you all back here in just a few moments.
Thank you, Alison. Bye-bye.